Welcome to MindMajix QRadar SIEM training. I am working with MindMajix to deliver this QRadar SIEM training to all of you guys. MindMajix is delivering the corporate as well as retail trainings from past 11 years. They provide the training on different IT courses. It includes more than 450 plus training courses which MindMajix is delivering. Okay. Today I am going to deliver the training session. Okay, I would say the demo training session for QRadar SIEM. I have around 7 years of experience in cybersecurity domain, and I am working with QRadar from past 6.5 years. So I have worked with different projects, different organizations in delivering the in managing the QRadar SIEM as part of their SOAP function. So before we start with QRadar, before we start with this training, so I would first give you the as I told that MindMajix says currently delivering more than 450. I would say currently the course contains 500 plus different technologies courses. They have online as well as the self-paced training available for 500 plus different courses. They are being delivering this training from past 11 years. So, as I explained about me, I have around 7 plus experience in cybersecurity domain where I have worked with different domain of cybersecurity, including the security operations center where I was managing the different SIM platform, including the QRadar. I have conducted 5 corporate training and more than I would say 7 retail training where for QRadar as well as other cybersecurity domain. So my subject matter, I would say my expertization is in cybersecurity domain. For cybersecurity domain, and I am managing I am working with a different SIM solution from past 7 years. So as part of this course, we are going to cover what is SIEM, basic introduction to SIEM. Why we require SIEM? There are different SIEM solution available from different OEM, QRadar, ArcSight, Splunk. Okay, for this message, this is the QRadar SIEM training. We will concentrate how QRadar works, QRadar architecture and all. So below are the curriculum that we have designed for QRadar training. So it includes the introduction to QRadar architecture or QRadar architecture, how event collection and flow collection works in QRadar, event life cycle in QRadar, from how the events logs data are collected to how a QRadar process and store the logs data. After that, we will cover the QRadar console where we will navigate to different QRadar menu options available, different resources like dashboard, log activity, network activity, asset and vulnerability assessment, offense rules, and reports. Okay. Then we will cover the different mechanism that QRadar support for log collection from different devices, servers, application. Okay, QRadar also, QRadar has more than 300 plus of out of the box integration available for different devices. Apart from that, QRadar also has the capacity, or I would say the capability to include the custom log sources, log sources. QRadar also has been basically the main use case, or I would say the use case of SIM is the to detect the threat in real time. So most of the SIM has the resource facility or feasibility to define the rules. It will works on the real time data, and it will generate if any rules are missed. So we will also cover how rules and building blocks can be in QRadar can be defined. Okay, how QRadar how we can do the fresh installation of QRadar, different option available as part of QRadar administration, and the basic of AQL, area query language. So we will going to cover all this topic in details. Okay, these are the basic overview. This is this course curriculum that we have designed as part of this QRadar training. QRadar has the community as well as the enterprise edition available. Okay, so basically QRadar Enterprise Edition has the license that we need to purchase, which is again based on the events per second license. But QRadar, IBM has also launched the community edition for QRadar. The details are available here, which we can use to download the community edition of QRadar. Okay. For this download, sign up is required, which we can do using our personal email ID. Okay. These are the system requirements for running this QRadar community edition. Okay. So basic, the minimum requirement for RAM is 8 GB, but recommended is 10 GB. Storage requirement is 250 GB, and minimum CPU core required is 2 per CPU. Again, QRadar requires the private IP, static private IP address to run the instance. Okay, and we can also assign the fully qualified domain name to QRadar. In addition to the system requirement, the below link covers the installation steps, how we can install the community edition, okay, on our personal system having this minimum system requirement. Okay, so we can this installation community edition comes with the OVA file, which we can run in either VMware or Oracle VirtualBox setup. Okay, so this contains the detailed steps to how we can proceed with the installation of community edition. Okay, switch to introduction to SIEM. So basically, you have been words like SIEM, but basically SIEM stands for Security Information and Event Management. This term was first coined by Mark Nicolette and Emrit Williams from Gartner in 2005. Okay, so why we require the SIEM solution? What is the need? What exactly SIEM is? Okay, so before the SIEM term was coined, okay, so there were already two different solutions which were providing the similar purpose of SIEM. The first solution was SEM, Security Event Management, and the second solution of SIM, Security Information Management. So basically, there are two use cases that these two different use cases, two solutions were covering. The Security Event Management SEM solution. So basically, SEM was providing the capability of real-time monitoring. So if I say real-time monitoring, using SEM solution, we can collect the logs from different servers, databases, application, network, and security devices. Okay, we can this SEM once this data is collected in SEM solution comes up with real-time monitoring, where we can define the certain criteria for threat detection. I would say the use cases, for example, if I want to detect the brute force attack, so we can define such criteria in the SEM solution, which will generate an alert, real-time notification and alerts if such criteria or event of interest is matched. Okay, so if I say event of interest, so event of interest is nothing but the event that that we need to monitor, the event that is critical for threat detection. Okay, so SCM solution was providing the real-time monitoring and alert and notification for any threat detected based on the pre-configured rules and use cases. Okay, the second solution of the limitation of SCM solution was that it does not have the log retention capability. I would say, if I say log retention capabilities, if I want to search for historic logs, say logs are past 2 month logs, so SCM was not having that capabilities. But the another solution, SIM, Security Information Management, was having that capabilities. So basically, SIM solution, Security Information Management solution, coming up with the long-term storage, where we can store the years of data in the SIM solution, okay, which we can then use for historic data correlation analysis and reporting purpose. But again, the limitation of SIM solution was that it was not supporting the real-time monitoring and correlation of events capabilities that SEM solution was supporting. So for the new solution, the term that was coined by Gartner analyst in 2005 was SIM, where they have tried to where they have combined the capabilities of SEM, real-time and correlation capabilities of SEM, and the long-term storage analysis and reporting capability of SIM. So the term SIEM was coined. Now there are multiple vendors, product company, which provide the SIM solution. So there are companies which provides the on-premises solution deployment, as well as there are companies which has the cloud deployment option available for SIM, security information and event management. So if I say SIM now, this solution is both the capability, real-time monitoring and correlation, real-time monitoring, correlation of events capability, along with the long-term storage for historic logs collection, reporting, and storage and analysis. Okay, so this was the basic introduction of SIEM. Okay, so why we need the SIM solution? What is the need of SIM solution? So basically, we know that if there is an enterprise infrastructure, there would be multiple different technologies deployed in the infrastructures from network. If we say network, router and switches would be there. If we say security, firewall, proxy, web application, firewall, IPS, IDS, and many other different security solution would be deployed in the organization, along with the servers and application which are the core of the organization business. Okay, all this data, I would say in QRadar, we all these devices application as the log sources, because all these devices application servers has the capability to generate the logs. Okay, if I say logs, what does the logs means? Okay, so most of the devices comes up with the capability of generating the logs. If I say logs, what does it mean? So logs is nothing but the information about the event. Okay, information about the activity that is occurred on that particular device. So if we say the Windows server, okay, so Windows server also generate the logs. Okay, if I say logs, logs is logs are nothing but information about the event, information about the activity. So in Windows, suppose some user is logged in to that window, to any Windows machine. So in that case, for auditing purpose, what Windows OS is doing, it will capture the information about that particular login. From which source IP this login event was, which source IP user is logged in, what was the username used by the user for login, whether that login was successful or failure. If it is was failure, why it was failure, whether user submitted the wrong username, whether user submitted the wrong password. Okay, at what time user tried to log in, to which server or to which destination user tried to log in. Okay, all this information would be captured by Windows OS, and it will be stored in some file. Okay, which we call the log file. Okay, so log is nothing but the information about the event. In our example, information about the successful login that user is attempted from particular source IP to particular destination using some particular username, particular time. So all this information that any device can capture for activity that has happened on that device, we call it as logs. Similarly, if we take another example, let's take an example for firewall. So for firewall, we know that a firewall is used for controlling the traffic flow in any organization network. In firewall, we can define the access list, we can define the rules to allow or block particular traffic. I would say to allow or block traffic originating from particular source to traffic towards the particular destination. Okay, so if some source is attempted to access some particular destination, and that particular request or the connection request was blocked by the firewall based on the rule configured. So in that case, firewall will generate an event. If I say event or logs are nothing but the information about the particular activity happen on the device. So in our case, firewall, where firewall is blocked some traffic. So in that case, firewall will generate an information like at this moment, IO block traffic originating from source IP x.x towards the destination IP y.y.y on port number n, based on my rule number to configure rule number to configured. Okay, so this all information would be generated by firewall for all the traffic, whether it is getting allowed or whether it is getting blocked. Okay, so all this information we call it is the log, because log is nothing but the information about some particular event or particular activity happens on the devices. Okay, so now we know that all these different devices have has the capability to generate the logs. Okay, so what SIM will do, is currently all these logs are available at the at the device itself. Okay, so there is no central view, miss what runs on particular server, miss there is no central view of all these logs. Okay, though logs are available individual with the devices, but we don't have any centralized view of all those logs where we can see that okay, request is originated from internet towards our internal network. Okay, it was hit to firewall, after firewall there was my IPS, so it was hit to IPS, and after IPS it is reached to my server where again at some endpoint protection solution are installed on these servers like antivirus, HIPS. Okay, so it was again processed by antivirus and HIPS, and based on that the request was delivered to application running on the servers. Okay, so for all this traffic flow from firewall to IPS or IDS to security endpoint solution deployed on these servers like anti-malware, antivirus solution, HIPS, and the application. All these different devices, different log sources will generate a logs, but currently we don't have any centralized view as whether the which device has performed which action to that particular request, whether firewalls here has allowed the request or blocked the request, whether IPS or IDS has generated some alerts or not. Similarly, my endpoint security solution has generated any alert or not. So we don't have any centralized view for all these activities. So there is no correlation, though this data is being generated on the device itself, but there is no one who is monitoring this data. There is no one who is performing some correlation between all this data. So that's why we require the SIEM, which has the capability to collect all this data on some centralized server. From using SIEM, we can view all this data. Okay, so this is the first use cases why we require the SIEM solution. The second use cases is that suppose the I am the firewall engineer working as a firewall administrator in some enterprise. Okay, someone asked me a question or someone asked me to review the logs for firewall. I would be aware about the what type of logs my firewall will generate, what would be the format of the logs that is being generated by my firewall. But if someone asks me to view the logs generated by IPS, IDS, or some endpoint solution application running on the server or at the application logs, in that case, I may not be able to interpret the logs, understand the logs, because my expertise lies in the expertise is in firewall. So I can understand the firewall, but if someone asks what the if someone asks me to interpret the logs generated by IPS, IDS, or some application, in that case I may not be able to interpret the information. Okay, so in that case what SIEM try to generalize all the information, try to capture the different format of information and convert it in single common event format. Again, this format would be user friendly, where I don't want need to train my SOC analyst who is going to review analyze all different type of logs to understand the different logs generated by different technologies. I only need to train my SOC analyst to understand the logs, I would say the converted logs or normalized logs processed by my SIEM solution. Okay, so these were the two misuse cases that I have explained why we need the SIEM. Apart from that, there are other use cases that is listed over here. Okay, like basically we know that there are rising data breaches. Every day we can hear the news about some organization data was breached, whether due to some internal or external threat. Apart from that, attackers are getting smart day by day. They know the how security solution works. They know how to bypass such solution. So in that case, having the centralized picture, centralized view of all the activity that is being occurred across the network would be the great advantage, because there may be a possibility that my attacker bypass the firewall, bypass the IPS or IDS, but there can be possibility that my HIPS or the other anti-malware solution running on the server where traffic was destined to. Okay, we can view from SIEM. Again, rules can be written to trigger a real-time alert once for such activities observed. Apart from that, we know that there are multiple sources. If we take the mid-size or large enterprise, networking, that say there would be thousands of different data sources, or I would say the log sources, which are generating huge volume of logs. So having the centralized view for again would make the great advantage. In addition to that, there are multiple regulatories like PCI DSS, HIPAA, SOX, which mandate as per their regulatory standards. There is mandatory to have there is mandatory compliance requirement to monitor such activity. Okay. In addition to this, as we know that SIEM will help us to identify threats and breaches that are occurring. We can preview the audit log. If I say audit logs, what changes has been occurred on my firewall, we can collect this data. We can have this reviewed every day, so that we are know that all those changes that is being occurred on the firewall are the authorized changes and is being followed the internal organization change management process for the deployment. Apart from that, we can use the SIEM, as SIEM is collecting logs from all the different solution. So we can use the SIEM to perform the forensic any incident investigation, forensic investigation. We can extract the log data required for performing some investigation of any incident, any breach, or even for forensic purpose. Okay. So what all different capabilities SIEM solution is? So this covers the all the different capabilities that we discussed in previous slides. Like SIEM is the centralized log collection capabilities. It has the capability to perform the analysis correlation. We can use the logs for performing the forensic. Again, there is a IT compliance, regulatory compliance to have the logs monitored and reviewed for critical assets in the organization. We can collect the critical application logs in the SIEM for monitoring purpose. We can enable the auditing. We can review the collect the audit data generated by my application, my network and security devices like firewall, IPS, IDS to monitor any unauthorized changes being occurred on that on any of the security devices. Okay. SIEM will help us to monitor the logs in near real time and generate any generate an alert if any event of interest. If I say event of interest, event of interest is nothing but the event or the activity that we are wants my SIEM solution to monitor. It can be any cyber security attacks. It can be any compliance related policy violation related events. It can be any threat related event that we want our SIEM solution to monitor and give us the real time alerts in the real time if any such info activity is observed on any of the server, my network or security devices. In addition to this, we can perform the user activity monitoring, where we can create a rule in SIEM to alert if any user is logging to critical assets during after business hours or during unplanned change window. Okay. In addition to this, SIEM solution provided us the dashboard capabilities, report capability. If we have file integrity monitoring solution installed in the organization, in that case we can collect and monitor the file integrity related events in the SIEM. Okay. As we told that SIEM also collect the system device log monitoring and object any object access. If I want to configure an alert if someone is accessing any critical Windows object or Windows file or any file, any critical server. Okay, and try to modify that particular file. In that case, we can enable the auditing on these servers and we can collect those data in the SIEM also. Okay, so these are the high level capabilities that any SIEM solution will have and which we can use for in our security operations center for real-time monitoring of any cyber security threats or any policy violation by any user working in the organization. Okay, so let's go with this QRadar SIEM architecture. Okay, so basically this contains the high-level architecture that any for QRadar. Okay, so as we told that in QRadar, if any device, server, application, network device, security device that generate the logs, okay, we call it as the log source. So we can see that there are multiple different devices like Windows server, proxy server, firewall servers, endpoint machines, my Linux based servers, my network devices like switches and routers. All this has the capability to generate the logs. Okay, QRadar is the event collector module, okay, which has the capability to collect the logs from all these servers, okay. After that, once this data is collected, event collector will perform some processing, which we will cover what all processing my event collector will perform in next slides. But after processing, it will pass over to my event processor. Now, again, this is a separate module in the QRadar, which again perform some processing on the events and store it in the database. So event processor is the area storage available with it also. And if there are huge amount huge volumes of data that is being generated by my in my environment, in that case I can place the data node also. So data node has the data node adds the data node. Again, it is the separate module in QRadar which provides the storage capabilities as well as the searching capabilities to QRadar. Okay, if I say storage capabilities, it will have large storage to store the huge volume of logs being generated. Okay, so after performance processing, event processor will store the data on its area database, and if we have data node module, so it will store that data on data node module. So from QRadar console, user can access the QRadar web UI for performing the SOC monitoring and analysis of the offenses that are being generated. So in QRadar, offenses are nothing but the alerts that are being generated by QRadar rules that is created for monitoring the event of interest. Okay, so this apart from the event collection, QRadar has the capabilities to collect the flow data also. So if I say flow data, okay, flow data is nothing but the network packet captures. I think that most of us have used the Wireshark. So Wireshark is the Wireshark is nothing but the packet capture utility, which will capture what all packets are getting passed from one interface, from one system to another system. Okay, so QRadar has the flow modules also, flow collection capabilities also, which can collect the flow data, packet data that is being passed from particular router or switches. Okay, using flow collector, this data is being collected. Again, flow collector will perform some processing. For this processing, data will be passed to flow processor component. Okay, flow processor, again it will perform some processing, and it will again event processor. Flow processor has the area database, okay, where it can store the flow data. Okay, again we can attach the data, means if the flow data that is being generated in organization is having a huge volume. Okay, in that case we can deploy another data node module. We can attach it with flow collector. It will add the storage capability to flow processor, as well as the enhance the search speed. Okay, if you want to perform some historic search on the flow or event data, so data nodes will help us to increase the search speed. Okay, and as I told, from QRadar console, okay, user can take the web UI access, or QRadar administrator take the QRadar CLI access to perform day-to-day tasks or troubleshooting tasks. Okay, so this is high-level QRadar SIEM architecture, different components available in the QRadar. Okay, so as I told that this all event collector component, event processor components, same way flow collector, flow processor, is all this perform some processing on the events. Okay, so what all processing they will perform, so here we have included the details about that. Okay, so first come to the event collector module. So QRadar event collector and flow collector are responsible for collecting the logs from the event data sources and the flow data sources. I would say the log sources and the flow sources. So basically, for there are two different data sources which will generate the flow data. Mostly the traffic packets are the switches and the routers. Okay, and similarly, if I say the event data, all this network and security devices, servers, application will generate the event data. So event collector has the capability to collect this data. Okay, after collecting, it will perform the parsing and the normalization on this data. Both flow collector and event collector will perform this parsing and normalization. Okay, once this parsing and normalization are done, right, this data will be passed on to events, will be passed on to my event processor and flow processor modules. Okay, if I say my event processor and processor modules, so in that case my once this is part, what my event processor and flow processor modules will do, as I explained in previous slide, that both this have the database attached aerial database where data storage will occur. If I say data storage, event processor will store the event data in the aerial database. Flow processor will store the flow data in the area database. Apart from that, all the rules that we create for real-time monitoring to generate some offenses, or if I say offenses are nothing but the alerts. So all these rules that we have configured in the QRadar, okay, my event processor and flows processor are responsible for processing each and every events for all the rules. If I say each and every event, suppose I have created the two rules, one for monitoring the brute force activity and second for monitoring the port scanning activity. Okay, so in that case, my event processor and flow processor modules have the custom rule engine where each and every events collected from the Windows and Linux servers, okay, each and every events collected from the firewall will be any other log sources or flow sources will be processed by the custom rule engine available on the processor, event processor and flow processor. Okay, if any event of interest is observed, suppose any brute force activity is observed on any Windows or Linux system, okay, or any port scanning activity is observed on in any firewall or router logs, okay, in that case event processor and flow processor will generate a notification and send it to the QRadar console, okay, and QRadar console will generate the alerts and offenses. Okay, QRadar console comes up with user interface where analysts can take the UI access for real-time monitoring. Okay, for real-time monitoring of alerts and offenses. Okay, QRadar has the capabilities of dashboarding reporting, which we can configure from using QRadar user interface. So this is the high-level SIEM architecture, and the event flow occurs in the QRadar as well as the how flow is managed by QRadar. Okay. So next slide again contains the similar details, but let's discuss in more details about. There are three components that we discuss. One is collector, one is processor, the third one is the console. Okay. So as we know, as I previously explained, so my event collector module is responsible for log collection. Okay, so log collection, there are two mechanisms using which logs can be collected from any system or servers or device. Okay, one is push mechanism and second is the pull mechanism. Okay, so basically most of the network and security devices has support of push mechanism. So if I say push mechanism, so device has the capability to forward the logs to the QRadar event collector module. Okay, so device will, for whatever logs are being generated on the devices, all those logs will, based on the configuration that we have done on the devices, all those logs will be forwarded to the event collector module. Okay, so for push mechanism, is why devices has the push mechanism capabilities. Okay, so most of the devices support the syslog daemon, okay, syslog utility. Okay, so syslog has the capability. Syslog is the protocol for sending the messages from one device for generating the log messages, logs, as well as sending those log messages to any third-party server. In our case, it would be QRadar. Okay, QRadar event collector module. So using the push mechanism, or I would say the syslog protocol, devices will forward the logs to the event collector data. Okay, there is another mechanism, like there are certain devices that does not have the capability to forward the logs. Okay, to forward the logs to some third-party servers. In our case, QRadar. Okay, so in that case, my event collector module will go to the end devices. Okay, and will fetch the logs from the end devices. So this mechanism is called the pull mechanism. So there is an example. Windows does not have the capability to forward the logs. Even the databases does not have the capability to forward the logs. So in that case, my QRadar will use some WinRM SMB protocol, okay, to pull the logs from the Windows machine, as well as the my QRadar event collector module will use the JDBC protocol, which will be used for collecting the data from the databases. Okay, once this data is collected by my QRadar, okay, using push and pull mechanism, there is a services running on the QRadar for monitoring the licenses. So as I told that means QRadar license comes up with EPS. Okay, if I say EPS means events per second. Okay, so QRadar license is based on the events per second. How many events this particular QRadar instance can collect per second. Okay, we know that Miss OEM built this solution to gain some profit. So in that case, any OEM Miss they will keep this strict checks on the license part. So as QRadar license comes up with Miss is based on EPS. Okay, so once this data is collected, what QRadar first do, it will compare the Miss current license capacity with the incoming events rate. Okay, suppose if I have a license of 5,000 events per second, so QRadar will match whether its incoming event is 5,000 or low. So in that case, if events rates is 5,000 EPS or low, in that case QRadar will pass on this event to next process. Okay, further processing, next services for further processing. Okay, if events are more than 5,000, okay, so in that case what QRadar will do, so basically QRadar has the buffer capacity, okay, buffer capacity of 5 GB. So in that case QRadar will put the additional events that is being come additional events that is above the license capacity, above the 5,000 in our example, in the queue. Okay, so once all these events, all the additional events which are more than my license capacity of the QRadar will be put in the queue and will be processed by the QRadar once the incoming license incoming event rates fall below the license limit. Okay, so let's take an example. Okay, in first second I have received the 5500 events. Okay, so in that case my 500 events are the additional events based on the license capacity that I have applied to my QRadar instance. So in that case, this 5,000 events will be added in the QRadar 5 GB buffer. Okay, in the next second also, I have received the another 5500 events. Okay, so again, means I have received five additional 500 events. So in that case, again those additional 500 events will be put in the queue. But on the third second, I have received only 4,500 events. So in that case, what QRadar will do, in addition to this 4,500 events, QRadar will process the first 500 events that will put in the queue. Okay, process the first 500 events that is kept under queue and pass on to the next process in the cycle. Here, okay, in the fourth second, again QRadar is received 4750 events, 4750 events. Okay, so in that case, again 250 events available compared to the license. In that case, another 250 events will be processed from the queue and pass on for the further processing. And this way, QRadar will perform the queue management. So this is clear how QRadar will perform the queue management if any additional events are being captured. Okay, and how QRadar will verify the incoming events for the EPS license. Okay, what if my 5 GB buffer is full? Okay, so in that case, any additional events that is being received, okay, additional events more than the license capacity, QRadar will drop those events. Means QRadar won't will drop those events and it won't pass it to further processing. So we lost those events. So that's why it is for the QRadar administration. It is critical for many monitoring the current license capacity as well as the queue size, so that there won't be any case that we should be well aware that we are going to hit our license management license capacity and the queue size, so that administration and other SOC analyst team are well aware about this activity, and then they can also take the any additional steps to avoid any log stop. Okay, so once these events are being passed on to the next process, okay, or the next services. So next service is the parsing and normalization. Okay, if I say passing and normalization is nothing but, as I told that is my SIEM solution is the capability to collect the logs from the different devices and the different format and convert it into the common event format, which would be the user friendly and which can be understood by my SOC analyst. So I don't want to train my SOC analyst to understand the 10 different event format collected from 10 different data source type, log source type. Instead, I will train my analyst to understand the common event format, all in QRadar terminology, normalized events. Okay, so what normalization is nothing but converting the different event format into the normalized event format using the parsing regular expression. Okay, so once this conversion is done, okay, what QRadar will do, is what a QRadar event collector module will do, perform the coalescing. Okay, so coalescing is nothing but the, I would say, the aggregation of the same, aggregation of the logs which contains the same information. Okay, so if I say same information, suppose I am transferring the file, okay, from one machine to another machine. File size is more than some in some MBs. Okay, there is one device, like say take an example of firewall. Okay, so which will allow this traffic based on the rule created configured on the firewall. Okay, so means if there are multiple session, multiple transaction of the events. Okay, so in that case I know that same source is transferring large amount of data. So in that case my firewall will generate the events that it is allowed multiple packets generated from particular same source towards the same destination on the same destination port. Okay, so what QRadar will do, instead of forwarding single event to the next module, event processor module, what it will do, it will club all such events which have the similar information, same information. Okay, and it will add the count. So instead of passing 10 firewall permit from source IP1 to destination IP2, okay, from 1254 to 1256, okay, so what it will do, it will club all these events into the single events. It will capture the start time, it will capture the end time. Okay, it will capture the start time of the event when the first event was observed. It will capture the end time of the event when the last event was captured, and it will generate the, it will add the count also. This 10 such events are observed, so that we are not losing any information. But we are not losing any information, but by looking at the single events we can able to interpret that, okay, between 1254 to 1256, 10 events were observed from this particular source IP to this particular destination IP on that particular destination port, which was permitted or allowed by my firewall. Okay, what is the advantage of coalescing? So instead of suppose my event collector is located in data center 1, my event processor is located in data center 2, which are physically separated. Okay, so again my data center 1 and data interlink between data center 1 and data center 2 would be using some internet link like MPLS. So in that case, so if I forward the 10 events, okay, if I forward the single event, in that case I can save the bandwidth. Okay, I can save the bandwidth used within the between the data set, which is due to these logs up. Okay, apart from that, okay, my event processor will going to store the events in the database, aerial database. Okay, so instead of storing the 10 events which will consume the storage, okay, I will now I am going to store the single event. Okay, so I can save my storage, I can save my bandwidth using the coalescing. And the third advantage is that instead of looking, my analyst will look for investigation purpose. My analyst will look at need to if there is no coalescing, in that case my analyst need to look at 10 different events. But with coalescing, my analyst only need to look at single event. Okay, and analyst is aware that there would be a count field in the QRadar which will have the how many actual events were generated. So by looking at the count field, my analyst would be able to know that, okay, 10 such events were generated. Okay, then there is the traffic analysis module. Okay, this we will cover later on with this course section. So basically, to give you the view, once this logs data is forwarded to QRadar using push and pull mechanism, okay, we need to configure the log source in the QRadar. We need to perform some configuration at QRadar, so that QRadar is aware that I am going to receive the logs from this particular servers. Okay, this particular devices. Okay, so QRadar has the capabilities where instead of manually defining this configuration, by performing the traffic analysis, okay, QRadar can able to know that from which particular devices we are receiving logs, whether the device is the some Windows server or firewall, and based on that, QRadar will automatically create this configuration. So this we call in QRadar auto detection log source. Okay, where QRadar is creating the automatic configuration for log sources so that QRadar administrator don't need to perform manual configuration for that. Okay, once this all processing is done by my event collector module, what my event processor will do, okay, my as we told that as I explained in previous slide, my event processor module has the custom rule engine. Okay, CRE engine in short, we can say custom rule engine is nothing but it will process the incoming events in real time to custom rule engine, and custom rule engine will have all the list of configure rules in the QRadar to monitor the event of interest and generate the alert if any event of interest is observed. In previous example, as I explained, suppose we have created two rules, one for brute force and one for port scanning. So those rules will be event processor custom rule engine will be responsible to process those rules for incoming events. Okay, and if any event of interest is observed, it will generate a notification and pass on to the QRadar console. QRadar console is also known as Magistrate Processing Core (MPC). Okay, so it will pass to QRadar console, or I would say MPC. Okay, for further processing. Okay, apart from this custom rule engine, as I previously told, a QRadar event processor is event area storage available. Event area storage is nothing but the database where QRadar event processor will store the incoming events that are being collected from end devices using push or pull mechanism. Okay. There is one more process that my QRadar event processor will do. Suppose I want to forward these events, events collected by, suppose I have some centralized syslog server. Okay. Okay. Or there is some application in my organization which requires the logs data. Okay, so instead of which requires similar logs data. Okay, so instead of forwarding configuring the even for forwarding from device end to forward the logs to QRadar as well as that third party application, I can create a routing rule in QRadar. Okay, I can create the routing rule in QRadar to forward these logs received from the different devices to that third party application. Okay, even if there is a suppose if the second purpose of the routing rule is that suppose I am collecting the huge amount of data, okay, from multiple log sources, and I have identified that few set of events are not required for my monitoring purpose. Those events are not going to add any visibility in my security or any, and even those events are not required as part of my regularity and compliance. Okay, so in that case, I can create a rule in QRadar. Okay, routing rule in QRadar to drop that events post collection. Okay, so what QRadar will do based on the rule routing rule configure, it will drop those events. Okay, so that it won't be stored in the database, and all the events that are being dropped. Okay, we will receive the EPS license back. We will there is a license back facility in the QRadar where we will receive the for all those events that are being dropped by routing rules, we will receive the EPS license back for those events. So QRadar is give license give back for from version QRadar version 7.3.2 is 100%. So earlier it was around 30 to 40%. Means we were not getting all the license back out of 100. Only 30 events EPS license was QRadar was able to give back. With the 7.3.2, QRadar is giving 100% license give back. So if I say if I am dropping the 100 EPS using my routing rules, in that case I will be getting the 100 EPS license back in the next second. Okay. So now come to the last component, magistrate processing core. Okay. If I say magistrate processing core, it is nothing but the QRadar console where my SOC analyst, my QRadar administration will take the web access. Okay, and after taking the web access, after taking the web UI access, they can perform their day-to-day operation task. Okay, any event of interest is being matched by my CRE engine of event processor. My event processor will send the notification to my magistrate. So once this notification is received, my magistrate will generate an offense in QRadar web UI, which can then view and investigate by my SOC analyst. Okay, again the QRadar rules that we require for that we need to configure. Okay, for monitoring event of interest, for monitoring any threat, for monitoring any policy violation. Okay, so this all rule configuration is being performed on the QRadar Magistrate Processing Core, I would say the QRadar console. Okay, this configuration is then pushed to QRadar Event Processor, where custom rule engine will perform real-time monitoring of incoming events. So this is all about the QRadar event pipeline, how QRadar manages and processes the events that are being collected. Okay, I hope Miss are clear about Miss QRadar will work, the architecture of QRadar, why we need the SIEM, okay, and the purpose of SIEM, the use cases of SIEM, okay. So this was the basic overview of QRadar, okay, and the SIEM. So, Miss, after completing this course, Miss, there are other section as per course curriculum, okay, which we can, Miss, which we will cover with this course. In addition to the practical sessions where, Miss, we will go through the QRadar console web UI. We will see all this, how we can perform the, Miss, how dashboard logs, Miss, how dashboard can be viewed in QRadar, configured in QRadar, what is log activity, network activity, how we can view the incoming event data, okay, what are assets and vulnerability assessment in the QRadar, how we can analyze SOC analyst view the where SOC analyst can view the offense investigation can be performed the offenses, where we can define the rules and reports, okay, where and how we can define the rules and reports, the different mechanism, the push and pull mechanism that we discuss, how we can create the manual configuration, okay. As I told that QRadar support 300 plus log source type for integrations. Suppose if there is some custom application that is being developed by my application developer, okay, custom application. If you want to monitor the logs, okay, from that custom application, so in that case, how we can integrate the custom log sources, okay. If they after creating the QRadar rules, there is a concept building block concept in the QRadar. Okay, what is building block? We will cover with this section. Apart from this building block, any rule is misbehaving, generating large amount of false positive errors. Okay, in that case, how we can fine tune the rules. Okay, how we can perform the QRadar implementation, and there are multiple different activities that QRadar administration and SOC analyst should perform. Okay, apart from there is a advanced search IQL area query language that QRadar supports. So how we can run this advanced search in QRadar. So all these topics will be covered with along with the QRadar web UI demonstration and the QRadar console and performing all these activities. I hope we have covered the basic about this course. So after completing the this course, you will receive the course completion certificates from MindMajix, okay, which contains what you the course name and the course name along with the certification of completion. Okay. So after this course, if you want to, we are also going to share the some reference, okay, online resources where you can further download the different documentation, go through that, okay. And if you are planning to give the IBM certification, so there are different certificates available. For SOC analyst, the basic certification is associate analyst. Again, for administration, basic certificate is associate administration. There is one more certification which is not in the list, the QRadar Foundation's fundamental certification, okay. So basically, QRadar is IBM come up with the concept of badges. So instead of certification, they are now providing the digital badges which we can showcase in the resume on social medias like LinkedIn and all. Okay. So these are the four certification. There is one more certification. The fundamental certification is available for IBM QRadar SIEM. Okay. After with this training, okay, the two things that we will cover is how we can integrate the Windows device with QRadar using the WinCollect agent. Okay, this is the utility that IBM has developed. Also, we will integrate one custom log source, which is not out of the box supported by QRadar. So we will show you how this integration can be done. In addition to this, we will work on the parsing. If I want to parse any custom information, okay, additional information from the logs. So in that case, how this can be done, okay. So these are the few questions that we have covered, that we mostly saying that interviewer are asking. Again, these are not the full list of questions, okay, but these are the common questions that candidate is going for QRadar interview. So this contains the mixed list of questions which may be asked for SOC analyst or SOC administration QRadar administration interview. Okay. So if you have any question, you can reach out to the MindMajix this email ID. You can drop in query. You can drop in feedback for this training session to the MindMajix. Our support engineer will review your queries. They can forward me and other trainers, and they can share the response with you. Thank you.